let's dive right in here. It does appear that we're beginning to see the whole showdown between patriots across the globe and the increasing number of vax mandate requirements by the respective governments reach critical mass. There is nothing less than a massive worldwide revolt against vax mandates going on right now as we speak across the globe. Let's start with France, where upwards of 425,000 protesters filled the streets of France's cities across the nation. Over 200 demonstrations were organized in cities across France to protest their government's draconian vax requirements. This is the 8th straight weekend that French citizens have filled the streets protesting against the so-called health pass that is increasingly being required for people to just participate in French social life. The chant of Liberté, Liberté has been heard resounding across the nation for 2 straight months as more and more French are rising up against government-mandated vax requirements. And protesters are starting to get very bold here. This is a scene from demonstrators storming a French mall, refusing to show proof of vaccination. And things got even crazier when the police were called. There were so many demonstrators flooding the mall that French police actually were forced to retreat. There was simply no match for the size of the crowd. And if you thought France was impressive, take a look at what's going on in the Netherlands. Tens of thousands came out this weekend to protest around Dam Square in Amsterdam in a demonstration against vax mandates and other coronavirus restrictions. Altogether, over 60 different organizations came together in a march entitled Together for the Netherlands to call their government to account for their mandate overreach. In Italy, thousands flooded the streets in cities across the country in protest of the vax pass. And in Greece, medical workers in particular have pushed back against compulsory vaccinations, especially those who have since been fired by the government for refusing to get vaccinated. So Europe really is exploding in revolt against vax mandates. But we're seeing a comparable backlash in the nation of Australia as well. Nearly 10,000 truckers have gone on strike throughout Australia in protest against the vax mandates that the Australian government recently imposed upon them. The regulation was set to go in effect at the end of September, and I say was set to go in effect, and that's because Australian officials have backed down. The consequences of the trucker strike has been so utterly devastating to supply chains that many grocery stores throughout Australia are completely without stock. It literally looks like something coming out of Venezuela. So chalk one up for Australian truckers. And finally, in Canada, upwards of 50,000 people marched in the streets of cities throughout the nation in defiance of vax mandates from their government as well. So as we can see, the story is pretty much the same wherever we go in the Western world. More and more populations are rising up and pushing back against what they consider to be the draconian policies of their respective governments. And I have to say, it's not just the West. From Tunisia to South Africa, social unrest is indeed sweeping across the globe, even among underdeveloped nations in response to their respective governments' handling of COVID.
Because the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that